For this week's feature interview, we're focusing on the IDF's latest strategic assessment for Gaza and the West Bank, where violence from the coastal strip is on the rise, while Israel's ties with the Palestine Authority in the West Bank are on a dangerously slippery downward slope. Joining me is IDF Reserve Major General Eitan Dagnot, Israel's former point man in the territories. And Eitan, great to have you back.
Thank you very much.
So let's start with the West Bank. Renewed violence on the Temple Mount, Abu Mazen's continued boycott of the Trump administration, and now the face-off over Israeli-collected tax payments that the Palestinians, that the PA uses to support prisoners and their families. So what's next? The end of security coordination?
Let's say that the coordination of the security, in my opinion, will continue because it's both side interest. The moment that it will reduce or something happen, it means that Abu Mazen has to calculate in a very deeply way is continuing for the future, because we are his umbrella also for his leadership for the future. But let's talk about the West Bank. The West Bank, even it is in the second place on the Palestinian arena of opportunity to create any kind of explosion, it is the most dangerous for Israel and the both sides. Why? You see, we are coming towards April. April is the month of the prisoners. We have some signs that something is bubbling with the Temple Mountain. The last occasion that they are trying to open a gate or a building that was closed from 2003. It means when you are taking the average Palestinian in the West Bank, there are top 5 things that you can bring them to the street. The first is Jerusalem, Temple Mountain. The second one is prisoners. The third one is economy. Fourth one is settlers. And the fifth and the last is the issue of the Palestinian state. So if you start to identify signs of the Temple Mountain, the prisoners, what happened with freezing feet, and I must tell you in this occasion that in my opinion, it's very important to do it. It's right to do it. But the question is to be right or to be smart. And the issue is the timing.
It's right to keep that Lion's Gate closed, but it's not smart, you're saying.
Exactly. It's the timing that Israel cabinet decide to do it. I have some question marks about it, because when you have cabinet that took the decision and going to escort the results of it, it's one thing, but when you are in the middle of elections, maybe it should be later on.
Well, Eitan, that actually brings, you were talking about it's right but not smart to withhold the payments. And that's what I wanted to ask you. The penalizing, sanctioning the PA for its so-called pay-for-slay policy is very popular here in Israel and in Washington. But tell us why the security establishment here is so set against it.
Because the security is looking what they are fighting and trying to prevent any kind of escalation every day. What we are now, we are going, look, we have some signs to be very ready to know the translation of them. First, you are coming to the end of the 6 months for, let's call it like agreement with Hamas of reducing violence, even it was not reduced. Secondly, you are coming to April, it's a new month, the month of the prisoners. Third, you have the problem of the freezing of the field. Later on, the Independence Day. Abu Mazen in a very sensitive situation on a junction to go or to choose what to do. His position internationally is very low now. He's trying to build and to be strong, not to lose his leadership, and also the day after. And the West Bank, you have the most dangerous for the living together between Israelis and Palestinians there. You see how much bloodshed we paid for criminals and murders.
And one little thing can set it all off. But you mentioned Abu Mazen's international standing. And let's talk for a minute about that recent security conference in Warsaw, which the U.S. and Israel had hoped would showcase Israeli-Arab unity in the face of a common Iranian threat. But aside from a few photo ops, the Arab states still pledged allegiance to the Palestinian cause, did they not?
Barbara, when you remember to see the Prime Minister of Israel sit together, very comfortable, you look on the faces, with the leaders of the Gulf countries, and
Two countries.
Under the umbrella.
One country, in fact, Oman and maybe Yemen, they shared a microphone.
But you know what is behind it and what they are talking. It means we have opportunities with Gulf countries. On the other end, the Gulf countries has their duties to our population, so they keep it on balance. So in my opinion, first of all, it's continuing of achievement, it's an opportunity, but we don't have to forget the PA at that occasion, and we have to find the balance. I'm not saying leave the Palestinians, because one thing, not because of this meeting. This meeting shows that Iran is really the enemy of the Middle East, modern Arab countries and Israel.
But doesn't it also show that regional-wide normalization with the Jewish state is part of a package that involves a deal to end the occupation?
In my opinion, it should be, but doesn't matter whether it will be first or in another. And then because the Palestinians and the PA at the West Bank, we are living together with them.
Right.
We have the daily contacts. As you asked me before about the security people, about their recommendation.
It's in their interest to continue. Eitan, I must move it over to Gaza. We are running out of time.
Of course.
And Israel's new chief of general staff has put Gaza as a #1 priority in terms of its ability to explode at any moment. You've heard the intelligence briefings. Do you think that Hamas is so squeezed that it's now in its interest to provoke a war, even in the lead up to Israeli elections?
The answer shortly is yes, but now to explain it, Hamas in a very problematic strategic situation. You have to understand they are now in a limit time. They understand that they can use to press Israel in order to get some achievements in Egypt. The closure from Hamas' point of view is not Israel, it's Egypt. Right. They want to expand and to open the gate with Egypt commercially in Rafah passage because it's bringing them millions of dollars instead of Kerem Shalom. It means freedom for Hamas leaders to go on. They have opportunity now. They keep almost 1 year of all the occasions with terror and violence near the fence. And they are, in my opinion, the 2 weeks before the elections will be very sensitive because Sinwar, in my opinion, is looking on it as an opportunity to make situation of terror escalation, but he will keep the signs not to bring it to a situation that force Israel to go inside in order to get achievements. He has problems internally with the Islamic Jihad that are sponsored by Iran, and Iran is looking to create any kind of escalation even earlier, and Sinwar is looking towards the West Bank in order to the day after Abu Mazen.
Absolutely.
If he can choose one last sentence, he would prefer and he will do escalation in the Temple Mountain and in the West Bank.
And not in Gaza.
And every day arresting few people that are instructed by Hamas in order to create bloodshed, murdering, and terror activities.
Now